Right, guys, if you are joining me today on this podcast, this interview, I've got Ellie Mckay and she's got some great nuggets to share for you, but I'm not going to steal her thunder, and I haven't rehearsed this, not that I do rehearse it, but I normally have at least some questions prepped, and I've brought nothing at all. So I'm going to start off with a question of, tell us who you are and what we don't know about you that we should know.
Oh, you've just nicked the question I asked you.
Did you? Must have been that good that my subconscious mind remembered it.
Oh, well, I nicked it from Paul. Paul asked me this when I was doing a podcast with him, and the answer I gave him was it took me 7 attempts to pass my driving test.
How many?
That's out in the urethra now, so I'm trying to think.
7?
So yeah, well, but anyway, that's out there. We're moving on from that.
Took me 3, passed on my 4th.
Oh, did it?
Mm.
Yeah, well, my sister was 15 or 16, so I'm still the better sibling. It's just a very low benchmark.
And I failed my motorbike test twice as well.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
See, it's persistence. Persistence prevails when all else fails. What else do people know about me? Got suspended from school when I was 15. Tend to keep that one under wraps.
What for? Sure.
A girl nicked my boyfriend, so I was etching her name into the art desk, calling her a bitch.
That'll do it.
I'll do it.
Tell us who you are, and I tell you what, I'm going to read it. That's what I'm going to do. I've got some questions here. So the reason why I've got this funny flowery background, if you're watching this, is I'm on holiday. So we've got some questions. So let's have a look. So I'm going to ask you some of the ones on here instead. Let's mix it up a little bit.
Okay.
I like one actually. So, because I'm dealing with this as well. This is probably why I like this one. So, Dean Kelly asked the question, what's the best and worst part about working with both your partner in life and business?
Oh, well, Mark and I have said for years, Mark's had his own business. He's been self-employed for maybe 15 years, had his own business for over 10, his electrical business. So he was already quite well averse to the business world and sort of fending for yourself and everything that entails. I was always the opposite. I've always been an employee, even when I've had sort of 10 plus years ago, well, more than that really. When I was in my late teens, early 20s, I had quite a good job. But since then, I've just had fairly kind of average jobs. But we sort of said that with our combined skill set, we always knew would be a formidable force. We're complete polar opposites, and it's what makes our relationship work. And we just thought it was something that we always really wanted to explore, but we didn't know what that would look like. I didn't perceive myself as having any skills. I was working or transferable skills. The irony being I was a careers advisor, so it was obviously a bit of a mindset thing, but I didn't see how that would, in my head I was just thinking, how would I fit into his electrical business, not what could we do together. Yeah. People sort of hear people talking about your passion and follow your passion. I was like, well, I've not got, there was no burning thing that I always wanted to do. So we kind of fell into property, which I'll go into in a bit more detail. But the truth of the matter is, it was really, really, really tough, and it can still be challenging, don't get me wrong. But we came to a point probably 6 months in where we thought, if I'm being perfectly frank, not only was I questioning whether we could work together, but I was questioning the whole marriage really, because you've got no escape from it. There's no respite from it. We weren't communicating well. We not identified our retrospective job roles. We've never really been a shouty couple. I was finding myself losing my rag. I mean, Mark's a lot more placid than me. If you ever spend any significant amount of time, I'm the little firecracker, and Mark's like the calming influence. And I literally found myself, the sort of defining moment, the rock bottom moment, I found myself literally screaming in the office, which I'm not proud of, and I can't even remember what it was about. I mean, it would obviously be Mark's fault. Like that's not
Boss.
that's not in question. But it was really, really tough. And I can see why a lot of people don't stick at it. I can see why they don't stick at business, but let alone working with your other half. Because you've not got, whereas before, if Mark had a tough day with the electrical business, and I've shared this example before, like he could come home, even if he was one who'd fucked up, if he'd made a mistake, he could come home and he could talk it out with me, he could decompress. I would be there to sort of give him a hug and just sort of play the role of the wife. Whereas the chances are, if he's had a bad day at work in the property business, I've had a bad day at work, and quite often one of us will be blaming each other, or that was the case before we started mastering our dynamics a bit better. So you're coming home and you're taking that with you, and there was literally no escape. And there was a few little things. I think when we started to get clarity on our different job roles, that helped, because I think at the start you're just doing a bit of everything, aren't you? You're in the trenches, you're rolling your sleeves up. And as we started seeing where our different strengths lay, and we started to give each other space and then starting evolving that, then that definitely started to help. But it's quite interesting because we both enjoy our own space. We have different offices. That really helped. We have different team members that we overlook. So we try not to cross over, because another thing from my point of view, for a long time, I felt like I should be more hands-on with the property stuff. I had guilt, whereas that's not the spearhead of the business that I'm trying to drive forward. So I think for me, losing the guilt that's not where my passion and purpose lies, and allowing me to do the things that I enjoy, that Mark enjoys, then that helped. But like for complete transparency, one of my, I'm in Nick James's 7-figure mastermind, and as part of that, I have another coach, which is Nick's mum, Nikki V, who's absolutely phenomenal. And she and her husband, Tony, they're actually specialising in relationship coaching. That's their area of specialism. And when she spoke to me about it before, I was like, you know what, we're pretty strong. This is just in my head, really. I was thinking we're not going to benefit from that. And sometimes you have to remove the ego, which is something that I find difficult, and it's something that I'm working on constantly with my coaches, because it's probably one of the biggest things that holds me back, and realizing actually our relationship might be better than a lot of other relationships. I'm not saying it's the best relationship. We're a very solid unit, but there's still massive gaps there. There's still massive gaps in how we're communicating. Like Mark's not naturally disciplined. I'm not naturally disciplined. We know that's a weakness. Mark's actually just joined a different mastermind at the moment, where he's getting one-to-one coaching to systemize our business and fully automate it. It was only just this morning Mark was going to, the tendency is always, I think all business owners will relate to this, the tendency is just to want to go and crack on, to go and just do it. And actually was going to crack on this morning. I just says, listen, we've had this discussion last week. We've moved forward. We've started this relationship coaching as well. We're starting to identify areas of weaknesses. I was like, but you're just going off to crack on. I says, I don't know what you're hoping to achieve today. And actually taking that half an hour to just sit and then to put proper structures in place. So every Sunday night, we're doing the thing that we've been told to do for the last 2.5 years, and we've never religiously done it. Plan, do, review, improve. Yeah. What gets tracked gets measured. Having specific measurable goals you're working towards. I mean, we've done incredibly well to see how haphazard our business has worked, and now we've got staff, and we're looking at scaling and bringing more staff on and leveraging more. It's non-negotiable. So we've definitely not got it all sussed out. But I would say to all the couples that are working together, it's hard work. We are by no means a finished article, but be willing to work on it, and be willing to accept support and advice, and not think sometimes it's almost like an admission of guilt if you ask for support and help, because we're always striving to, we know that there's no such thing as perfection, but if our relationship's a 6 out of 10, we refuse to. It's the same with anything in life. It's the mediocrity. I'm not saying our relationship's mediocre. That sounds terrible, but it's what you're willing to accept. And yet, our relationship, from an outsider's point of view, might seem really good, and to us, we could consider, kid ourselves on it's really good. But we demand a higher standard from ourselves, from our business, from our own relationships, and from all the other areas in our life that we're trying to master.
No, I love that. So, straight up, one word answer.
Oh,
would
God.
you recommend it? Yes or no?
Yes.
You would?
Yeah.
I want to know more now.
Yeah, I wouldn't change it. Mark's my soulmate. To be on this journey with him, and this is the thing, and I think this might be a bit of a female trait. We always tend to perhaps gravitate towards the negative a bit more. I do think that we do tend to do that. I think it's cathartic to have rants. So I'll never say otherwise. But to be going on this journey with Mark, who understands all my strengths, all my weaknesses, we share the same goals, we share the same ambitions, to have had the accelerated success that we've had in such a short space of time, the highs and the lows. It's not, it's what we've experienced in 2.5 years. The average business might do in 15 years. And I'm not talking about money in the bank or success. I'm talking about the highs and the lows and the extremities of the emotions and things. But to do that alone is tough. And if I didn't have Mark by my side with all these completely opposed, I'm blessed. He loves to do all the stuff I hate, and I love to do all the stuff he hates. It's fucking brilliant. I don't want to walk around shitty houses. That's not for me. Look at my nails.
So how long have you been together in the business then?
2.5 years together.
2.5 years. And in that time, has the business improved? Has it? We
only started it 2.5 years ago, and
it's
been pretty. The trajectory's been pretty good. Obviously, the way we see it is we're just laying the foundations. But the success we've had within such a short space of time has been. I don't think it's been arrogant to say it has been. It's got us on the map.
And what about Mark's business? Has that taken off since you've been involved as well?
No, I'm not involved in the electrical business whatsoever. Right. No. We've got 2 other businesses. We've got the electrical business and we've got a fire safety business as well. So we have another business partner. I meant to say to you before, actually, he's called Mark as well, Mark Fraim, and he's a silent partner in the property stuff. It was always his intention to come on board, but the electrical business and the fire business have just, they're starting to do some pretty impressive things as well. So they've got project managers and teams of guys that he manages, but he's in the TA, he's a para, he's a PI, he's in his 40s, he's defied all the odds with stuff. He's still running them ragged. He's doing like triple mountain marathons with his own body weight in his back, and he's like a proper nutter. Like he is.
I was going to say, he sounds as daft as me.
Oh, he's literally that. You'd be 2 peas in a pod, honestly. You get on great with him. So yeah, he's very much active in the combined group of companies, and it's a very unusual dynamic because it just works so well. Mark's been in business with him for over 10 years. They've worked together for over 12 years, just as a pair of. They met each other as a pair of subcontractors 12, 13 years ago, and their sort of ambition and drive got them sort of connected, and it's went from strength to strength. So yeah,
it's good to hear that they've stayed together that long, because I've seen a lot of people partner up and it doesn't work. What would you say is the secret? And I'm asking you a question for them now, but why would you say that they've stayed together that long and maintained that relationship? What's the secret to that?
They're like blood. They're like closer than brothers, and they don't have to. They probably speak a bit less now because they're running the different businesses.
Yeah.
They're still super close. I call Mark his work wife. Mark he's a bit more like me, or he was. He's very much into personal development and things like that as well, and constantly improving himself and things. Ironically, he was going to be the one to do the property training that we ended up doing, and he's still never done it. He's paid his deposit and still not done it. So it's quite ironic, really, but they just share the same belief. They're connected. They're kind of like soulmates in the business sense. The trust is 100%. It's just them against the world. Mark would lay down his life for him, and vice versa. And it's a bit of an unbreakable bond, really. But you're right, it's very, you see it all the time. I see people forming business partnerships left, right and centre, just because they've met each other in a property training course, or they've known each other 6 months or 12 months. And it's pretty ludicrous, but it just works so well. And I think that we try and instill in our team, they're exactly the same on the other businesses. We're trying to create like a family culture almost, and the sort of trust and loyalty and respect that we're hopefully instilling from our staff by creating that sort of family culture is what's going to set us apart.
Do they ever clash?
Never.
No, I've got a business partner. I've just recently got another one, because I had one, and that went tits up in 2011. That business went bust. That was a guy that I actually put him in a property, and he was a millionaire. He was a very, very successful guy, and you could see he was very entrepreneurial, and he just like lost everything. And we got together, we set up a business. He was doing really well. And as soon as he started to earn money, he just started to drink it all, going in the pub and stuff like that. And eventually that broke down. But my other business partner I have, we, to the point where I'll even hold my hand up here and say the way we run business is not how you should run business. Because we are both just so relaxed with money. Because we go back from the army days, we met in 2003. And that trust between us both, where we were doing a project and he might shot 50 and I've shot 30, and we're not even like, we don't even know who's put what in until the end, and kind of then have a look at it and, all right, okay, I've put that in, you've put that in. But I think it's, again, it comes down to what you said. It's that complete trust that you do what it takes to do to complete a project, and then it always seems to work out that way for us anyway.
Yeah. How long do you guys sorry, go on.
I was just going to say, but I agree, a lot of partnerships, they do seem to break up.
Yeah, you know what? And I think, as you know, I'm a huge advocate of property training, but the caveat being the right property training. And I suppose this could be true of any sector, cryptocurrency, whatever, any skill that you're learning. There doesn't tend to be that much business advice given, and there's so much of it you have to, it's not just find the deals and find the money. That's fairly easy if you've had decent training, decent advice, decent mentorship, decent coaches. Like that's not the hard part. They're never the parts that have stressed us out. You know, it's the infrastructure. And I see people as well, when they get the money from their deals, like one of the most basic things I see people doing wrong. In fact, we were kind of talking about this. I was on one of my mastermind Zoom calls last night when I was out for a walk, and it was like a group thing. And the tendency is, when you get a chunk of money in from a flip or whatever it is, or investor money or whatever, people are just like putting it straight into the next deal. And we've kind of realized pretty quickly, I suppose, that that's not the way to scale a business. Yeah, you can make a lot of money from that. That's fine. It depends what you're trying to achieve. But by investing, I'm not even just talking about reinvesting it in your education, your personal development, which, you know, people would think I'm insane. We probably spent 50 grand last year in our personal development and education. And people are like, but what do you get back from that? And I'm like, I just can't be fucking arsed having those conversations, to be honest, because I'm not here to convince people. Like, I'm not even a trainer. I don't really give a shit what other people think. It's like, oh, I just wouldn't do that. And it's like, but you also live in a multi-million-pound mansion. Like, we're going to do, you know, so it's pros and cons. But what I was going to say is more to do with having the foresight to invest in, not cut corners. Make sure you've got the best accountants, the best solicitors. You're investing in staff. You're putting your staff on training. Like Kira, my marketing girl, she's been on thousands of pounds worth of training. And then people are like, well, what if she leaves? I'm like, but what if she fucking stays and she's got no training and she's not able to make us money and stuff? And I suppose it's a different kind of mentality. But I see money as being pretty free flowing. I think that's probably one of my biggest realizations, and that was long before the money was in our bank account. And to be honest, it's still not in our bank account because I take less of a salary than I did when I was a careers advisor. But we've upgraded our lifestyle and things like that. And but yeah, I think it's more people aren't, when I say people, who are people, some people don't seem to be operating a business. They don't seem to have any aspiration to remove themselves from the minutiae. They're just like, and one of the things that we were talking about last night on my Zoom call as well is I've had a lot of stick for, I'm not a real person doing real deals because I don't do fucking Facebook lives around shitty 2-bed semis and arse end of Doncaster. Well, not going to happen. It's just not going to fucking happen. Mark, yeah, like we've got project managers in place, but even when Mark goes, I'm like, do you want to do it? He's not interested. And that is not disrespecting anyone that does them, because they're valuable, they're great, they're a great way to generate a brand and to raise investment and everything else. But there's many different ways to skin a cat, and ultimately people should be thinking one step ahead, because it's that whole Brad Sugars thing about working on the business instead of working in the business. And that's our number one focus at all time, to remove ourselves. And every time we outsource a task and we all get it off our shoulders and onto someone else's, on another member of the teams, it's like that to me is success, not money from a flip landing in our bank account.
Yeah. Tell me a bit about that. I'm not going to... I don't believe in certain things that I just don't say and I keep to myself. And
go on, come on!
You know exactly what I'm talking about, because I kind of got shafted a little bit, and you've been shafted by that same person. But I don't talk into things like that, because I think there's power in the silence, and I always think the truth comes out in the end. That's my take on it. But what is your advice around builders? Because I know that you've felt pain with that. So what would you say to people? What should they be looking for, and what should they be avoiding?
Okay, so I'll talk you through a couple of early experiences that we had when we like our first couple of property deals. We had a friend who was handy, that we trusted, and we thought, great. Like, we spoke to him about project managing a couple of our deals, and so I suppose it's realizing, and there was he was great at what he did, but I think he underestimated, as we did, the amount of work that's involved, the amount of time it takes, and all the different moving parts. So the tip from that would be, like, when you're looking for a builder, if you go down this route and your Aunt Mary's had an extension, that doesn't mean they're going to be suited for running more than one job. Like, that's not the criteria. The amount of builders that have been recommended to us that would not fit our criteria, because when you've got more than one job, when you've got multiple jobs, it's a completely different set of skill set. And this isn't to stereotype the entire industry, but there is a lot of builders that we've come across that write your quote in the back of a fag packet, and that's not how you can operate. Like, you need a program of works, you need things to be detailed. So nailing that down from the start. So I think at the start you need to go in the trenches. Then we had a second project manager that they weren't on the books, but they were working exclusively from us. They went massively over budget. We put too much trust in them. We should never got to the end of the project without realizing that they were over budget. Many mistakes learned there. We had 5 jobs about to kick off, and then they basically put their fee up by $3,000 a job, and we're like, fuck that. So that was a little bit of stress. So then we thought maybe we need to start paying a bit more, even though, like, sometimes the VAT on build costs can kind of kill the deal with the smaller refurbs. But we thought, let's suck it up. Let's go for a one-stop shop. And that's the experience that we've shared a bit of a common ground on. So we've kind of, and then we had a builder who we could trust implicitly. It was great, but he was like a dinosaur in terms of, I hope he's not watching this, but like the amount of time it was taken to get through these refurbs. But we had that many refurbs on the go that we almost let it slip. There was no sort of time urgency on our end to get that money back in, and really we just had that much to do. We were in a bit of a state of overwhelming. And actually, one of the things that's came out of, I always think that there's always light comes out of the dark, and the bad experience we had with said builder, we've ended up by very randomly coming across and finding our project manager off the back of that, who is now on the books for us.
Awesome.
It was quite an interesting story, really, because he was a painter and decorator, and quite a new painter and decorator. Normally you think joiner or builder, don't you, for a project management role. So it certainly wasn't the obvious choice, but we'd happened to go to this property. He was finished off a bit of external works. I can't remember, I must have just called in on the way past, because we were very hands off. We got his card to do a bit of work with us direct. He then did a couple of other projects for us just as a painter. And then he said to Mark, he says, actually, I've got a little bit of a team if you want me to run the job for you. And we kind of thought we were still using our dinosaur builder at this point, like banging our head against a brick wall, pardon the pun. And he said, do you want me to do one? So Mark thought, well, got fuck all to lose, and he did the job, and it was the best job I've ever had done in terms of workmanship. It was quick, so he ended up doing another couple of jobs, and then he's the most quiet, unassuming lad in the world you'd ever meet, but he was like negotiating all the prices of the trades down, our materials, all the stuff that we knew we should be doing, but we just didn't have time, because we were in this working in the business minutia, firefighting, taking on too many deals, too much investment. Good problems to have, but when the standards start to slip, you've got to constantly get that balance. And long story short, he asked us to set him on, and we have done. And like with all key members of staff, it's the best thing we've ever done. So I would say it depends on what scale people are working towards. Like we've got, and that's not a one-stop shop for us either. So we've got Ryan, our project manager. He deals with like the smaller refurbs, just your standard flips or buy-to-lets. But our bigger projects, we've got we do like a 10-bed HMO conversion. We've got a couple of conversions to apartments. We've got a couple of conversions from 4 to 6-bed HMOs on the go too for us, plus one for our investor. So those bigger projects, we've teamed up with an architect who we've worked closely with, and he set up a business with another project manager. And so it's building relationships. My advice would be you have to get in the trenches. Kind of going back to what we were saying about the partnerships, I'm a very, very trusting person. I don't want to lose that, because I think when you start becoming cynical, it's not a great place to be. But social media is, like that particular builder, for example, up my arse, comment on every, post. People are not authentic. And then the second, that they're not interested in you, they're not interested in your content. Just be mindful. People are sort of, they're there for business, which is fine, because ultimately that's why we're all present on social media, whether it's building a brand or otherwise. But perhaps don't take people at face value. Certainly at the start, as much as we talk about leveraging and outsourcing, you can't do that too quickly. In my experience, you have to understand the process. You have to understand the nitty-gritty. And when I say you have to understand, that was Mark in our relationship. I don't know fuck all about refurbs. I'm not professing to do. But and I also think you have to make mistakes. You have to fuck up. You have to learn. That job, that one now, it's only just sold, Stephen. It's been the Achilles heel in all the flips, everything that we've done. That is literally just sold. It's the worst projects we've had. Our profit was just going like that with every variation order that we were getting in, stitched up like kippers with fucking stupid contract. 100% accountable for that. 100% our fault. Will we be ever in that situation again? No. What have we got from that? A masterclass on what not to do, a project manager, and it's given me and you no end of banter, hasn't it?
Yeah, and this is the thing. I had somebody message me the other day, and I forget exactly who it was now, but in a nutshell, they said, I want to do training with you so I won't make any mistakes. And I said, I'm going to be brutally honest with you now. You can do all the training with me you want. You'll still go away and make some mistakes, because I still make them now, and I'm teaching you and other people. And there's always some at that. I mean, I think once you're trained, it stops you from making them sort of really big mistakes. But there's always things you look at and think, probably should have used that tradesman there, or we should have maybe worked them hours there, or should have been a little bit tighter on those material. There's always going to be something. You're never avoiding that. That's I know I'm not selling myself very well, but I don't think you're ever getting away from that. Would you agree?
I would 100% agree. I think there's an element, the reason that we have paid for high level mentorship and the personal development that we do, which isn't just property specific, is because yes, to an extent you want to learn from other people's mistakes. And when you're in the thick of it, yeah, it's okay picking people's brains, and I like to pay it forward and help people. But at the end of the day, if you've got a mentor and you're in the middle of a big development or something, and you need support, you've got access to that support, and I think that is priceless. But we weren't going to ring our property mentor every time we're like, oh, I've got an alarm bells about this joiner. You know, it's like that's not the level and if you have to find out, you have to do it. And I think I'm going to be really controversial here because it's one of my pet hates about the wealth creation space. It's just not for everyone. It's not for everyone. I meet a lot of people and I just don't think they've got what it takes at all. Well, you see how many people do the property training courses. They're spending thousands of pounds and then they're just nowhere to be seen after 3 months, 6 months. How many are there after 12 months? Like, I wonder what the statistic is, 20%, you know? And that's fine for going off on a bit of a tangent here, but as much as I'm really, really passionate about training and mentorship and personal development for the right people, there's a lot of people, I'm really anti these old school manipulative sales techniques and people not delivering on what they say they're going to do. And I think basic level of training, to an extent, providing you're getting what it says on the tin, great. But higher level of mentorships, like seeing people spending 10 grand, 15 grand, 20 grand that are just, in my opinion, they're not capable, and they just fall by the wayside. I think perhaps this is one of the reasons the industry is under scrutiny at the minute, because I think historically certain training providers have just taken the cash, and unfortunately now every fucking property trainer in the world, of which I am not one, I have no intentions of becoming one, so I'm being objective here, is just getting thrown under the same bus.
Yeah. I'm getting a lot of that stuff at the moment. Like you say, it's right across the board. But I agree with you. It's there's a way you've got to conduct yourself. There absolutely is. If you're going to train people, there's a certain way that, because I know people who are training people myself, and they haven't got experience, they haven't got the results that they're saying they've got. And I look at it and I think, fucking no wonder the industry's got a bad name when there's all of these mind mastery coaches and they've fucking got mental health problems, or you've got, it's just, it does need clamping down. And for me, I want it to be clamped down, because it's the same as Section 24 and things like that. I believe it's like, once you raise that benchmark, it'll get rid of all that bottom layer of crap. So for me, I'm hoping that they do professionalise it. We're sort of ready for that. We're expecting it. It's going to come. It's inevitable. But the thing you say there about training, Ellie, is there's not one person that I know who's, and being successful is subjective, but anyone who's made anything of their life, any sort of wealth, happiness, every single one of them have a mentor. I've never ever met one that doesn't have a mentor. And like you, I still invest a hell of a lot of money. Like my dad says to me now, when you're going to stop wasting money, surely you're at that level. And it's not, it's an ongoing thing. And like you, last year we invested about 30 grand in our staff alone. And that's sort of a regular figure, that, because someone's only going to get results in line with the level of thinking. And if you don't improve that person's thinking, your staff member, your team, the people around you, then you're not going to improve your results. And I think you're either it's black or white. You're either empowering your staff or you're not. I don't think there's anything in between, and you've got to be fully committed. And when you are empowering, there's always that danger that you'll empower people and they'll move on. There absolutely is. But I agree with you. the results that you'll get in that time that they're with you, and you hope that if things are done the right way, you'll keep them relationships.
I tell you what, like, this is one of the reasons you'll not see me in the training space, because I've just got no fucking time for people that don't want to help themselves, or it's like, this is why I had to stop doing the strategy calls with the investors, because somebody come on the phone to me and they're like, so tell me why should we invest with you? I'm like, you fucking rang me. What are you talking about? Like, if you don't see the benefits invested in property with the likes of myself, then we're done, you know. And that's like, I know that's a bit of an arrogant way to be, and again, that's actually something that I've been joking about with my own mentor and the other people in my mastermind group, because I think when you start in this game and you've got confidence and belief, you've got to be careful not to border on arrogance. I don't know if this is something that you struggle with as well. And it's like, I'm almost a bit bipolar in my approach. I'm either like dominating the world or I'm not, which is one of the reasons it's directly linked to personal development, that I'm a true believer that the business can only grow at the same extent I do. So my number one priority is always, people are like, so what's your top priority in life? Is it your kids? It's like, no, it's not. It's me. Like, and people, again, who don't get it, they're like, you selfish fucker. And I'm like, the best way I can help and support my kids, the best way I can support my family, my business, my husband, because Mark and I are at the epicenter of it all. How can I be happy in my marriage or my relationship with my children if I'm not happy with myself? And I suppose who I was 2.5 years ago compared to now, it's almost unrecognizable. But I'm you did a great post the other day which resonated, and there's been a lot of this all through lockdown, like, it's okay not to be okay. And actually what you said, I'd never really thought of it in those terms, but you're saying, well, it's not okay to be okay. It shows that there's an issue and there's something that needs to be worked on. And actually, I suppose that is what I believe, because I won't accept how I'm feeling. I'm not saying I've got it all sorted, but what I am saying is I won't accept it. I will accept it. Like, I still battle with depression. I will still have days where the black cloud and I just don't want to get out of bed, or I feel really anxious and I feel like I'm close to having a panic attack. But that's why I'm learning these coping mechanisms and learning about meditation and trying to improve my lifestyle slowly but surely. Like, again, I've probably lost about 2 stone from when I started in the property space, and I'm nowhere near where I want to be. I'm not saying that, but it's about realizing that without addressing all these different areas in your life, which is what your coaches and things, this is why when I chat with Nikki V, like, she loves chatting with me, because we're not talking business strategies. It's the same when I talk to Nick James, it's the same when I talk to Paul McFadden, same when I talk to you. What are we always talking about? Mindset, personal development, what we need to do to get ourselves to the next point. I mean, during lockdown, everyone's home life is very different. We had a 2, a 3 and a 7-year-old. It was fucking crazy. And you need to put things in place. And for the first 12 weeks, we had that nailed down. We were doing HIIT workouts 6 days a week. I was going out walking 5 miles a day or running. We were like, our eating was on point. The alcohol, but it was gin, it was low calorie. And it got to like the week 12 mark. And I realised that certain areas started opening up again, and restrictions were easing, and it was area specific. But our nursery was shut, our school was shut. The only difference was Mark was out the house more. So it kind of felt like, and I thought, oh my God, so if everything shuts till September, I'm not even at the halfway point. And I was just like, I kind of freaked out. I'd done so well. I'm keeping my family going. I'm keeping my friend going. I'm like the beacon for positivity. And I was like, fuck this. I can't fucking do it. And sometimes I have to throw my toys out the pram, step back, tap into my mentorship, tap into my personal development, and started thinking, well, I just thought, okay, so now, like, I've worked on stuff, so it's like, well, you're only meditating once a day, you're meant to be doing it twice a day, your walks, you've canned them off, your diet started going off on point because it's natural, isn't it? Like comfort eat or whatever, started switching to red wine, not gin, just little things. Couldn't be arsed making the same amount of contact with Zoom, started getting a negative headspace. Well, why aren't they wanting to, if it weren't for me, nobody would Zoom me, and and all of this kind of stuff. And basically fell off the wagon with it, which is allowed, but it's identifying that.
Yeah.
And putting yourself back on track. And now every decision we are making, I don't know about you, but it's prepare for the worst and hope for the best. I am preparing for a second lockdown in the winter. That's what I'm preparing for. And I'm thinking, okay, well, you were good for 12 weeks in the summer. It's going to be a lot tougher in the winter. The weather could stop the kids getting out in the garden, blah, blah, blah. What do I need to do to myself? What can I do to improve my own mental health? What can I do so putting aside the business decisions, because there's things that you can do to bolster your business, but that's the easy bit, I think. Not easy, I'm not saying it's not going to be without its challenges with the business if we go into lockdown. But I'm like, could I cope with 12 weeks, 16 weeks in this house in shitty weather with my 3 kids at the moment? No. Right. So what do you need to do so that you will be able to deal with that? And I don't necessarily think everybody thinks like that.
Well, there's a saying, isn't there, that the quality of your life will be in direct proportion to the quality of question you're willing to ask yourself. And that's exactly what you're doing there. That's a kind of question people don't ask themselves. The normally, it's why me? Them type of questions. Why me? Why is this happening? Instead of how do I get prepared if this is going to happen? And that saying, I completely believe it, that your life will always be in direct proportion to the quality of question you're willing to ask yourself. Here's some here's some of what I think you do really well. And I want you to share this nugget. So this particular thing that you do, I kick my mentees up the arse all the time about it. And this is probably the one thing that they least implement, and that's getting themselves fucking out there. Like, everyone's got an issue with doing it, but you do this really well. So tell us, what's the secret of that and what's the benefits of doing it?
Okay, so, and now people see me on social media. This is why I think it's important to keep it real. And people are like, you almost get that, oh, it's all right for you. It's like, okay, no, it wasn't all right for me. Before I did my property training, over 2 years ago now, I had postnatal depression. We'd had a series of situations, near bankruptcy, all sorts of stuff. I was, my husband was due for the snip. We'd had our second baby, fighting to keep a roof over our head, fighting to keep solvent. I had a 3-month-old baby. My husband, Mark, was booked in for the snip on the Monday. Friday before, found out I was fucking pregnant. I mean, devastated is not the word. I had postnatal depression. It wasn't a great place to be. And anyway, little Sammy the Screamer came out, and he didn't sleep. My girls were such awesome sleepers. He was a little nightmare. He's great now. He's 3 now. He's a little star. Everything happens for a reason. So it was a very happy mistake. But obviously at the time it didn't feel like that. And I remember about a week before I did my property training, we'd had various issues with childcare and things falling through. I was literally in the fetal position. I was like, I fucking can't do this anymore. I've been trying to listen to the podcasts and the audiobooks and stuff like that, and trying to get myself in a better headspace. And it was a why me every time. Why me every time I try. Get fucking knocked back down. What's the point? I'm just going to stay down. How many times can I get back up and take the knocks and all of this victim mentality? So I can empathize, I can relate, and this is why I share the story. It's not to manipulate people's emotions, it's to share my truth. And I pretty much had an anxiety attack walking into the property training. It was absolutely horrific. I remember having to do an elevator pitch in front of 16 to 18 people in the room, physically trembling. But I'm a bit like I've got an inner steel, and this is maybe what, I don't know, maybe not everyone's got it, I don't know. But I just thought, you know what, I'm doing this, and I'm going to put myself out there. And I started doing videos. I've deleted them all now because they were a bag of wank. They were just doing videos for the sake of it rather than providing any value. But you know what, it got my name out there. It was a lot more ranty. That gets traction. Again, deleted most of those posts because they're not really in line with who I am. You could become a social media influencer by slagging off what everyone else is doing. It's like that. I've got that observational stuff, you know, and I have opinions on stuff, but it's rising above that. So there was an extent of the whole Grant Cardone money follows attention. I was definitely doing that. But it was also, to quote some of the other influencers out there, Rob Muir talks about start now, get perfect later. Just fucking do it.
Yeah.
And I did do it. And what people didn't see, less than 2 years ago, so I was at a Grant Cardone event. And one of the things he was talking about was mental health. And to be fair, it's not dissimilar to what you think and what I believe. But I was on heavy duty amitriptyline plus other medication for anxiety and depression and stuff like that. And it was all about like the power of the mind. And I was like fucking buzzing coming away from this event. And I made the really clever move of ditching my medication, just going cold turkey. And I wouldn't recommend anyone doing that. I mean, it's as close to feeling suicidal as I've ever been. If I didn't have kids, perhaps it would have been, you know, there might have been a different outcome. It was horrific. But you know something? I remember thinking at one point, I was like, I could end my life, but for as long as I'm living, I'll never end the business because I'm fucking all in. I am doing it. And that might sound ridiculous. People say, okay, you feel like that, you know, kids and stuff. But when you're in that headspace, you think that you're not a positive influence in people's lives. And that's what people who've never been that low can't understand. But I kept putting one foot in front of the other. And this is relevant to the social media because you don't have to, I feel like everybody should take it at their own pace with social media, but whilst being consistent. So if you don't feel confident doing videos, I've only just started doing videos again 2.5 years in. Okay, but I built over 30,000 followers on LinkedIn through my written copy. And I remember thinking on my darkest day, if I do one thing today, just one thing, it's going to be a LinkedIn post. And through that compound effect, we raised like 4 million quid last year from LinkedIn. So being consistent, I see people stopping and starting, and you will never get into the flow unless you do it consistently. But it does take time to find your authentic self. I feel like I'm only just starting to find that now. And I feel like if you are as into your personal development as we are, your authentic self, well, perhaps you've leveled out now because you've done all your personal development and you're probably quite in tune with yourself. But for me, I'm probably going to change quite rapidly for the next couple of years because I'd like to think I'm going to keep evolving because I've got a lot further to go with my own development and my own mindset in comparison to somebody like yourself who's been doing it longer and put more time and effort and everything else like that into it. But you know what? People just need to do the fucking work. It depends what you want. Can you be successful without doing social media? Absolutely. Can you be uber successful? Maybe, but it'll take you a hell of a lot longer. It'll take you a hell of a lot longer because one of the things that Trish was saying on my Sunday series, Trish Pegg, which I fucking love and I've used it so many times, it's that whole thing about it's not what you know, it's who you know. But it's not, is it? It's who knows you, because people know who I am.
Yeah.
And if people need to know who you are in order to do business with you, and it's as simple as that.
No, I agree. Couple of things there, because you might think that because I've done personal growth for a lot of years now that you kind of level out, but it was about 3 years ago that I wrote in my journal, because I go away every year by myself in January for a full week. And I wrote in my journal, I kind of looked back over about 4 or 5 years, and I'd seen this sort of trajectory like that. And I thought to myself at that time, I thought, this is probably going to level off. Like, I can't like continue to keep going this way that I am. And every time I go reflect on that year and I look back where I was and I think, shit, I've done it again. Like, literally just going that sort of level. And I think like it's probably ignorant to think that you wouldn't, because if you go look at some of the billionaires in the world and some of these amazingly successful people, there's a huge gap from between where I am and they are. So there's no reason why you can't do that every single year. That's my take on it. The other thing I want to pick up on there is 4 million quid on LinkedIn, and the amount of people that say to me, you can't buy property, you can't start if you don't have money. And I say, it's fucking bollocks. You just need to know how to tap into money, how to put it to investors. But the amount of people that say, yeah, but you're this and I'm that and I've got no name and I won't be able to get finance. And the mentees that I've trained, that I've took it on board and I've gone on to LinkedIn, I've gone on social media, are the ones that are pulling in the money. And some of them have pulled over £500,000 in quite a short period of time. So what would you say to somebody who's maybe they've done a bit of training maybe, or they're sort of on the property journey and they're stuck for getting finance and they don't believe someone will invest in them? What tips would you give to somebody who's in that situation?
So a couple of things: be consistent. You don't have to spam people, but you need to be posting at least once a day, Monday to Friday. Probably a bit more at the start, and then that can peter off as you build a following. But people don't want to be educated. People want to be entertained. So you need to keep your content. This is what's worked for me anyway. I don't even talk about fucking property most of the time. I build a following. People buy from people. People have to like me. And then maybe you drop a little bombshell every now and again. Boom, just picked up 10 HMOs for one of my London-based investors. You don't get returns like that down south, and then nothing. No DM me, nothing. And then your little inbox just starts going. And another thing, when people started to, it's that whole like no trust thing. You wouldn't believe how many people just sit back and watch. They don't. I always, when somebody reaches out for makes an inquiry about investing, I always go back and check whether they've engaged with my content. Always. And 90% of the time they've never engaged, but they'll be like, Ellie, I've been following for the last 12 months. Yeah, people are risk averse, and those are very different strategy calls to a cold lead coming in off the website. They've made the decision. They want to work for me. They know where I stand because my ethics and values come through in all my posts. And also people are like, oh, you can't swear on LinkedIn. It's like, you can't fucking swear on LinkedIn. I'll do whatever the fuck I want on LinkedIn. Yeah. Because if that offends someone, I'm looking to build long-term sustainable relationships, and I don't go out my way to offend anyone. In fact, quite the opposite. I'm not one of these people that say I don't give a fuck what people think of me. But what I do want to do is just make sure I'm representing myself authentically. And if that repels you, and I have been authentic, then that's not synergy. So we're not a right fit for each other. And if you are somebody who gets offended by the F-bomb, then that's going to be an issue, because I'm done with doing a phone voice to investors like we all do at the start. You know, you put the money on the pedestal. Oh, hello, it's Ellie here. No, it's not. It's hiya, it's Ellie, you know?
Yeah. No, I agree. And I think, do you think any of that comes, like the fact that you're not asked that way? Because for me, because I think we spoke about this when you interviewed me, the fact that I was really small as a kid, and the fact that I wanted to fit in, and the fact that everyone did judge me because of being so small, not starting puberty till I was late, all of these being really weak as a male. So I was fucking judged constantly to the point where I fucking hated it. And I think all of that pain of having that, eventually you get to the point where you go, fuck it, enough's enough. And you just seem to like let that go. And for me, that's why I don't care what people think of me. So what's the reason why you're like that? Where is can you relate to anything like that, or is it?
Yeah, I can, but if I'm being honest, I would say I'm only just starting to get to the point where I've got that. This will surprise people because, again, it is smoke and mirrors to an extent, and you don't want to be overly vulnerable on social media. You want to be authentic and true to yourself. But I would say I'm only now in a place where I'm feeling that. But what we did have from the word go was complete certainty in our belief, in our, and this isn't just about like your happy clappy woo woo bullshit. We knew that we're fucking shit hot at what we do. You've got to be good at what you do. We knew we were good. We knew that if we could hone all these problems, because I will sit here, I'll say, this is a gap, that's a gap, that's a gap, because this is all true. But what we don't say enough is we're fucking brilliant at what we do. We're really, really good at what we do. And because of all the personal development and things that we did, we always had an abundant mindset. And I think that's probably why I don't get as excited by money. And I am materialistic, and I'm not trying to say otherwise. It's not my primary motivator, but you know, I love nice things. So I'm not going to ever apologize or make any sort of bones about that. But I don't know. We knew the money was coming. Before we had the money, we knew it was coming. And you know what it's like in property, everything's pipeline. Money can't get you that excited in your first few years because you're just fucking pumping it straight back in. Like, we're not like, oh, Flip's just landed, let's go to, you know, Bista Village and buy some fucking Balmain gear. It's like, right, let's put it all back in and continue to take fucking $2,000 a month salary. You know, I was earning a lot more than that before. In fact, I was earning about fucking twice that when I worked in sales. So certainly not living the high life, but we always had that abundant mindset. We always knew from a place of certainty that the money was coming from us. And we also learned very quickly through the mentorship and personal development, the value that we were bringing to the investor. And very quickly in our head, we went from the person with the money holding the cards in our head to realizing, no, we're the power players here. We're the ones that are bringing the value. We're the ones that are accessing all these fucking off-market properties. They're not making it to Rightmove. We're the ones that know our numbers. We're the ones that will facilitate, you know, all of these things I was telling you about, builders and project managers. Our investors don't see any of that because we're just fucking delivering a shit hot end result. All that shit that goes on in between while you're figuring stuff out, that's kept far away. And we've always, you've got to believe that. If you're somebody that puts the money on the pedestal, I don't know, like, I was always brought up to believe that the country's fucked, we're skin. What about Brexit? Why are you investing in property now? This is ridiculous. You pay that much for a property course, it's a fucking scam. I got made redundant on maternity leave. We put every last penny into our property education. We bought our first house using fucking credit cards. We didn't give a fuck. We knew what we were doing. We know how to leverage finance. Not telling anyone to go out and do that. I'm absolutely not, because the majority of people don't know what they're fucking doing, and they'll lose money and then they'll blame me, and that's not my fucking problem. But at the end of the day, we've done quite a few joint ventures, you know, where somebody pays for all the, you know, the project, we do the sweat equity, and we split it 50-50. So we've done plenty of them. You can do them all day long. That's fairly easy to do. But our first like proper investor that, I think it was 100 grand he'd given us, and we were giving him, I don't know if I think it was a portfolio client, and we'd done the heads of terms and all of that, and we had the money in the account. And then the tone of the emails and the calls, the messages, it was like, what about this? What about that? What about this? What about that? Like, Mark just said, you know what? I've not fucking been in business for 10 years to have somebody, it might be new to property, which we were at the time, but to have somebody having me on a bloody dog collar, it's just not happening. And we transferred that money back to the guy and said, I'm sorry, you're not a right fit for us. And we didn't think twice about it, because for us, it was the best thing we could have done, because had we continued, like a lot of people do, even though they've got their alarm bells, to work with a problem investor or a problem client because they're basically desperate, then I don't think that's putting out the right vibes to the universe. We were like, fuck it, money's everywhere. And now I speak to the whole thing about your net worth, your net worth. I mean, it's so cheesy and overused, but the reason it's overused is because it's so true. And I don't take financial advice from a skint fucking great auntie down the pub. Do you know what I mean? I'm speaking to millionaires, multimillionaires, and billionaires, like little old me talking to fucking billionaires. I thought there was no money out there.
Yeah. No, but it's so powerful. And I think what you said there, I've been raising money myself for years, and one of my mentees said something to me, and it's so blatantly obvious, and I don't know why. I never seen it that way. But he raised over £500,000 from doing the training. He literally went out, and to the point where I was like, fucking hell, how are you raising? He was like raising more money than me.
Yeah.
And I've just learned to flip it on its head. He said, I've looked at it, that they're getting a real shit return, and they're the ones not doing me the favour. I'm the one doing them the favour. The fact that I can turn their money into a really good return for them. The money's secure. I know what I'm doing. And he just absolutely owned it. And that's why he's getting all that finance. And I just thought, yeah, he's right. And probably I didn't even look at it that way as well until he sort of brought that to my attention of it's a two-way thing. You're offering the investor just as much as what they're giving you.
Well, I don't want to tell anyone how to suck eggs, but something that's been a bit of an epiphany for me just in the last week. Again, another one of your posts. There's been so many of your posts recently that it's just a bit spooky. But you were talking about follow-up processes and things like that. Yeah. Well, I was on some sales training at Birmingham with Nick and with Matt Elwell on Thursday. And it was he covered some great stuff, but the power is always in the simplicity with me. And again, ego can cost you money, right? Ego can leave money on the table. And I was taking posturing, that preeminent authority, to a silly level, I can say now with hindsight. Like, I was of the mentality that if somebody missed a strategy call with me, if somebody said you're going to invest and they didn't, I was like, well, like they're basically rude. Why don't they want to work with me? And I don't think we had any follow-up strategy other than the fact I would delete them off my social media. Like that's true. That's not that long ago. Because I was just like, they're disrespecting me. They're disrespecting my time. They don't see our value, and it's a very negative way to behave. And long story short, as I was just sat doing the training, there was one or two people that inquired that I'd not deleted. When I say one or two, it was literally just two. The rest of them have been deleted. And I sent both of them a message just going, hey, I know we spoke last year, or might have even been the year before, about property investment. Is that still something you want help with? Well, both of them messaged back straight away going, oh my God, I'm so glad you got in touch. I'm really sorry, but this and this has happened. Like one of the guys has had cancer, bless him. You know, you don't know what's going on in people's life. And we've got Zooms booked with them both, hopefully to onboard this week. And even if nothing happens, even if for whatever reason they don't onboard, it was a very powerful lesson for me to have a very good follow-up in place, have a proper system so people can't fall through the net, and to realize that a lot of people need more than one touch point and everyone's very different. And the other thing that I wasn't doing, which might sound ridiculous, I'm very good at networking to an extent. I'm very good at getting around high net worth people. I'm very good at relationship building. In my head, because there's no desperation for the money, it's abundant, I forget to fucking ask for it. Like, I don't ask for it. And this has been a big problem of mine. I'm always playing the long game. I'm like, what's it fucking matter? We'll do business at some point, you know, they're great, I'm great, they've got money, I'm not desperate, our paths will cross. And sometimes you've got to get out your own head with that as well and ask the questions. So yesterday I messaged two really high net worth people and just said, hey, you know, hope you're well. We're really looking for a high net worth investor to fund the majority of our projects. You know, we can provide security, but things are going a bit mental for us in terms of opportunities at the moment. And I wondered if you'd like to work with us. As of yet, I've not converted either of those, but I'll keep you posted. And the point is, it's not even about whether it works or not. It's about the fact, if you make enough of these, if you've built relationships with people, and people like you, and people trust you, and people know you're not a dickhead, they will do business with you. And then when they do business with us, they'll see how good we are in that sense. Because the other thing as well is, people have got to like, know and trust you 100%. So if you don't do that, you're fucked, because you'll not get the leads in the first place. But then you've got to be good at what you do. Because like we said about that one particular builder and other people that I've had the misfortune of working with, they talk the talk. Everyone's talking the talk. People underestimate what it takes. If people aren't committed to their own personal development, for their industry specific development, then they're probably going to have a reasonably short life of, shelf life of working with us, because they might be a good fit now, but as we're evolving, people need to evolve with us. So I've went in a bit of I always go off on tangents, Stephen, honestly. But yeah, no, can't remember what the question was, but that's the answer.
I can't remember how we got to it. Something about follow-ups. I think it was,
sales.
You were deleting people and you went back to them too. Yeah. Do you know what? Do you know what's funny with that though? And I thought this earlier on. So before we took this call, and I didn't sort of realise what I'd done until I actually came out. I call it a cookhouse because that's what it was called in the army, the restaurant. So I walked down to the restaurant and there was a massive queue, and just instantly and subconsciously I just thought, fuck waiting in that. So I went outside the restaurant, in like by the pool, and then through the side doors, just so I didn't have to wait in that queue. And then I sort of came out at the end, and I'm always looking for shortcuts, always, and I don't even realise I'm doing it now half of the time. It wasn't until I came out of the restaurant that I kind of smiled at myself what I'd sort of done, seeing that there was a massive queue. And I don't know, people might say it's a bit of a piss take, but I'm always looking for a quicker way to do something. And the amount of times I've wanted to buy, and I've wanted the person to ring me back up, and I haven't rang them, and I've thought, I hope that guy rings me back because I want to go ahead with that. And I've just been too fucking lazy or too busy to ring them, and they've lost the sale, when I've actually thought, I hope that guy with that garage door was a good price, that good product, I liked him. And you just haven't come back, and I've never just got round to doing it. And people think that you're pestering people when you're following up, but sometimes, like I say, I've been a bit gutted when people haven't followed up because I've wanted to go ahead. I just too lazy, whatever it is, too much on to follow it up.
Yeah, 100%. And it's down to what your mentee was saying. It's about appreciating the value that you're bringing. I mean, people are getting, it's going to come to a point where you have to pay to keep your money in the bank, so it's I remember you did another post actually about some ice cream queue. You did the same. So I think, I don't know if you've ever done this, but if you've ever been like, you've got two cash machines right next to each other, you've got one of them that's got 10-fold queue, and the other one, no one's there, and everybody fucking assumes it's broken. The amount of times I've went to that cash machine and it's worked, and all the sheeple, call them sheeple, are stood in the fucking queue, presuming because the person in front of them's in the queue. You've got to be open. You've got to be open to opportunity. So I tell you, and not being as scared. I think as well, a lot of people are scared to talk about money. And again, that's something that over the last 2.5 years I've become a lot more confident with. If you are speaking to clients, like, right, you've done your rapport building, you've done whatever you're doing, you've discussed what needs to be discussed, and it's like, right, let's talk about the money. We all know it's fucking going to cost something. Let's talk about the money and look somebody in the eye. Don't be all shifty, because you feel like some sort of dodgy con artist. Look them in the eye and say, right, let's talk about the money. This is how much it costs. This is what the process is. I'm going to send you this invoice. You're going to transfer me that, and then this is what the next steps are. Don't be scared. It's like a British thing, isn't it? We're all scared to talk about money. But
yeah, I think that's one of the main things that holds people up in getting investment. And something that I've told my mentees to do, which worked for me in the earlier days, was whatever you're going in for, have a pack. If you're not comfortable and you feel awkward, have a pack and use that to speak. So page 1, this is what we're looking for. Page 2, this is the project. Page 3, this is the returns. Use your guide. Use something there. If you haven't got that natural ability, it doesn't come to you to do that. I always think it's better to be more natural than to read it off something. But if someone struggles with that, it's a great way to sort of start, and it worked for me at the beginning doing that as well.
Yeah, it's a comfort blanket, but the point is to do it, not to shy away from it, like you say. And if that gives you the confidence to, because the more people you speak to, the easier it's going to become. Yeah, it's the only way for things to become easier. But there is, so like yourself, we're always looking for shortcuts, and that's, I suppose, the whole point of mentorship, because your mentor might have taken 15, 20 years, but you might be paying them 15 grand a year because you want to accelerate that success. But to an extent. So I agree with that. I am sort of contradicting myself here, but in other ways, there is no shortcuts either. And I've kind of got This is a bit controversial as well. And I'm saying this, as you know, from a place of love for the training space when done properly. But like, I've got a list of people. I get messages, I'd say at least weekly, not daily, but at least weekly, from people asking me to mentor them. But I get the concept, right? I fully get the concept of everyone can learn from somebody, okay? I do get that. And if you've done one buy-to-let, you can show somebody who's done no buy-to-lets. And as long as you're not saying that you've done 100 buy-to-lets. So I get that, and I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with that. But for me, if I'm being brutally honest, I think this is maybe one of the things that is wrong with the space at the moment. There just seems to be this thing where people come out of a property training course, as I have done. They get to a certain point, and people have been asking me to mentor them since I've been like 12 months in property. Like, I wouldn't get mentored by somebody that had been doing something for 12 months. I've got higher standard in what I expect for mentorship. So I just think people, and I suppose this is the same whether you're an investor, whether it's training you're looking to do your due diligence. Like, personally, you want to learn from the best. And I'm going to offend even more people here, but one of the bugbears I have is when people talk about financial advisors. Like, honest to God, like, I've got no fucking time for it. Oh, I might invest with property, but I'm going to speak to my financial advisor on Wednesday. Like, literally, my dad lost £800 last year in his pension. And you know, it was one of my friends was saying about how she was considering investing, but she was going to speak to her financial advisor and all this. I'm like, what the fuck does your financial advisor know about properties? Turn up in a second-hand course, for fuck's sake. Do you know what I mean? Like, take your financial advice. And I'm not putting myself on. So, but for you, what? Like, I wouldn't even take my financial advice from a millionaire. If you're not a multi-millionaire, like, you're not where it's at for me to want to evolve to. Because, again, some people find this arrogant, but I'm just being honest. I don't think it's going to be difficult to get to millionaire based on where we're at now and the assets we're building and the trajectory we're on and the development that we're doing. And I don't mean development as in property, but I mean personal development and getting around the right people. How the fuck can you not? Like, how the fuck can you not?
Yeah, I agree. It's the same thing, like I say to people, it's not a get-rich-quick scheme, but you can make money quick in property. And to make £1 million in property, like you say, it's very easy. If you're making 150 grand off just one project, you're there in sort of 6 years of just at that sort of level. One of the things for me, and this was ego, on our current project, and I think I've said this to you, and my fucking haters are going to be right on this one, and unfortunately I was wrong. But we were trying to hit the £1 million profit on that project, and we're not going to hit it. We're probably going to be around about 800 grand or something like that. But it's not to be scoffed at, 800 grand worth of profit in 2 years. But yeah, I was that was purely ego, just to make a point that you could make that from a single project. But the point I'm making is there's 800 grand made in 2 years. And,
no bad for a failure, is it?
Yeah, exactly. Right, I'm going to ask you one question, and then I'm going to give you the opportunity to tell us a little bit about where people can find you. So I always finish off with this question. So we're fast forwarding now, and it's your funeral, and there's best friend there, maybe his Mark's there, kids are there. What do you want people to say about you? What do you want to be remembered for?
I would like people to say that I lived my best life. I gave it my all. Ultimately, I want to be the best mum, the best wife I can be. That's true success. I'm not really bothered what people say about my business achievements, because I don't think that's the legacy. I would like people to be talking about well, what we touched on this a little bit when I interviewed you, but so very quickly in business, in property, when you start hearing big numbers and things, it sort of becomes a little bit like monopoly money. And as much as we are still at the bottom end of where we want to go, I've already started realizing that money's not my primary motivator. What I can do with that money, and on top of all the super yachts and shit like that, right? I'm not saying I'm not going to be doing any of that stuff, because I am. But it's about what a legacy to me is about a lot more than that. Is what impact you can leave in the world. And I believe, and I didn't articulate this very well on an interview I did before, and everyone was down my throat, because I basically said people that, what I said was, people who aren't materialistic are thick. And it's subtitled, and people were screenshotting me going, yeah, fuck off. That's not what I meant. I meant that people who think all these people are fucking hugging trees and with their fucking signs at middle of whatever street in London, for whatever rally. I don't believe that's how you make change. I believe that money provides power and influence and connections, which can be used for good or bad. That's down to the individual. So I would like to really like give back. There's quite a few humanitarian causes and stuff like that. Like I've got big passions, like yourself, with homelessness. I really like to do a lot of work with ex-offenders, in particular female ex-offenders, and reducing homelessness when they come out of custody and things like that. But again, then you start thinking a bit bigger, right? This is people's limited thinking. You start thinking, oh, world peace, yeah, all right, okay, well, what about when I've done that? Okay, right, no disease yet, done that, now what? I want to do. This is just quite a recent thing. I originally said it as a bit of a joke, right? It was just a bit of a joke, because I was like, I just love to say stupid shit sometimes, and I don't do it deliberately. It just comes out, and maybe it's the universe like just fucking getting it out of me somehow. And I basically said I wanted to be involved in or build, oversee the first hotel in space, and I've started following a lot of the SpaceX stuff with Elon Musk and NASA, and they're about to do the launch pad from the moon to go into Mars in 2021, and shit's fucking happening. Like shit's happening out here, and whatever you say about Donald Trump, and this is not political, but he's putting money back into things that I believe people are like, oh, how can you say that when there's this issue in America and there's that issue? It's like, again, I think that's a very limited way of thinking. I just think there's people thinking about solutions to problems that we're not even scratching the surface on. And is that not what entrepreneurs do? So in terms of a funeral thing, it would be great. Yeah, good mum, good, great wife, great friend. I don't give a fuck about my property portfolio, because that's bricks and mortar. As long as I'm leaving something good for my family, my wider family, and looking after people. But it would be pretty cool if they were referencing my hotel.
Yeah, nice. That would be definitely some achievement, wouldn't it?
Yeah,
I've absolutely loved that, and it's flown by an hour and 20 minutes. So if anybody's watching this now and they've not come across you before, where can they find you?
Oh, LinkedIn has historically been my primary platform, but I'm enjoying Facebook at the minute. Connect with me on Facebook. I'm on Instagram. I remember to post on there every few weeks. Not joined TikTok just yet, but watch this space. Oh, and I've got a YouTube channel, and I've only got 71 subscribers, so please subscribe. Help a girl out. Help a girl out.
So if you're watching, make sure you subscribe. And so what are the pages called? Just if people are looking for them, just underneath they're under your name, are they?
Ellie Mckay, yeah. And I can send you the links as well if you want to stick it in when this goes live, when this goes out.
Yeah, we'll do that. Ellie, it's been an absolute pleasure. I didn't get through the other questions on the phone. I only just remembered about them a couple of minutes ago, and it was like way past that. We went off on a tangent as I expected. So thanks very much, and we'll catch up soon.
Yeah, brilliant. Thanks for having me, Stephen. It's been a pleasure. Thanks a lot. Bye.